Because I read in the text on your website that at some point I think you were in a phone call where you decided to do an album together again. But I was just curious after we will talk about that. But you had a gig in 2009. Why did you decide at that time to do that?
It was just a kind of why the hell not, in a way. It was we you know, obviously we'd been apart for a long time. And then there were just various requests, and we were like, well, why don't we just do a bunch of shows and see how it is? And it was going to be, you know, I was in the middle of writing my One Good Thing, so I was, you know, a bit, you know, okay, but we'll just do, you know, maybe 6 shows. And it turned into about 30 shows and, you know, snowballed completely. But it was a lot of fun, you know.
But was it also at the time you described earlier that you maybe didn't know where to go at some point, so in that case it came at the right time, or was that...
Well, no, it was kind of around the time when I was recording, I recorded One Good Thing kind of in the middle of all of that as well, so... And then I toured One Good Thing in 2010 after that tour in 2009, so I kind of went from one extreme to the other of being on big stages with Lamb and then going back to doing solo acoustic slots with, you know, in more intimate venues, you know.
Because, yeah, maybe just to pick it up from the point where you felt you have nothing to say anymore and you met Andy again. Did you meet, what did you first do to maybe, did you talk a little bit about the current situation where you're at, or you went immediately to work? Can you describe a little bit how
well,
it went?
in a way, the Lamb album started to write itself because during the discussions that we had about the shows in 2009, I was in the process of working out where I was going to record One Good Thing, and initially I was trying to I was talking to Noah Georgeson over in California about working with him, and then he got involved in a new Devendra album, and it was just basically, it turned out that it wasn't going to work in this short amount of time that I had. And in the process of hanging out with Andy and working out these shows that we were going to do, I was talking to him about that, and he said, well, hang on, why don't you come and record in my studio?
Have you thought about it before, or was it
no.
a surprise that he offered that?
Initially it seemed like a crazy idea, you know, because we'd always had this situation of doing Lamb. And
separate, to have that separate so that it would not mix up in each other.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, when I went off to do my solo project initially, you know, I remember playing him my first album, and he was just like, God, I just do this so differently, you know. It was just like, you know, you go ahead and do your thing, but this is nothing to, you know. So for him to offer to do that seemed quite, you know, kind of off the wall in a way. But then the more we talked about it, the more it became like, well, actually, yes, it could, you know, it could work, because I was very clear on how I wanted to do it, and he was very clear that it was my record and that he would actually, you know, facilitate it. And, you know, basically the whole idea was that it would be very analog, very stripped. You know, I hate using click tracks in my own music, you know, so it was, and he was really quite into the idea of helping me to do that.
But were you afraid that maybe things would mix up a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. But they didn't, and it worked really well, and the part of the deal of that was that I would then write a couple of songs for his Lobe album, which he's just brought out. And so I came back and we started working on a song for that, and that became Strong the Root. And it was so evident from really early on that that was a Lamb song. You know, there was no way to dress it up any other way, you know, it was a Lamb song. And so I think that was what prompted the whole idea of, you know, because we always said we wouldn't make another Lamb album until we had something new to say, and here was a song that was fresh and we were really vibing on, and it was just like, well, hang on a minute, you know, this is at the beginning of something, you know.